You can start now, we are live.
Okay. Can I start?
Yes, you can start.
So, hi everyone. Warm welcome to the session. I'm Mala, a senior software engineer. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. I'm Mala. I'm working at Encora as a senior software QA engineer. I have an overall experience of 7 years into different domains like e-commerce, BFSI, and Android platform, namely enterprise, commercial, and the rugged devices. So without further delay, we'll start off with the today's session. It's about demystifying ADB, understanding the Android architecture using ADB commands. Let's directly move to agenda. So as a part of today's discussion, we'll be discussing on the Android architecture overview, different layers and the components in the Android architecture. And we'll be using an interactive tool that is ADB. We'll know how this ADB interacts with each and every layer of the Android architecture. And then we'll see how the installation process of the ADB and the setup. And we have different ADB commands that which communicate with the Android devices. So we will see that part in detail. And without using any communication, like any communication channel, we'll be able to let the communication happen with the Wi-Fi. So that's the advanced feature of ADB. So ADB over Wi-Fi. And we have different flashing methods. So we'll be concentrating on that as well. So these are the topics that we'll be covering as a part of today's session. Starting with Android architecture. Android architecture is a layered module. It has an overall structure and the design principles are in such a way that it's an Android operating system. Overall designs will be displayed in the Android architecture. And this layer module will have different modularities, and the layers support interactions between how the operations has to take place. So if you can see my screen, just a moment, I'm stuck. Okay. So here you can see, this is a Android architecture. It has different layer. As I said, it's a layer model, one above the other. The foundation layer is called the Linux kernel. It provides low-level hardware abstraction, device drivers, and the core system services, such as memory management, process management, and networking. Above that, we have hardware abstraction layer. This hardware abstraction layer, as you can see, it stands between the platform independent Android framework, which is above the hardware abstraction, and the below layer, which is platform dependent hardware drivers. It provides a standard interface for accessing these hardware features and allowing the Android framework to be hardware agnostic. Above that, we have an Android runtime in the right. So this is a virtual machine. Whenever we receive any sort of requests from the client or from the user, how the interaction happens and how the data is fetched and how it's going to be responded, all these activities will be taken care by this Android runtime. It's like a just-in-time compiler, which will optimize and increase the performance of the session. So this particular Android runtime is written in Java or Kotlin or any other supported languages. Beside this, we have native libraries. These native libraries are written in C, C++ languages that provide core system functionalities. These libraries handles different tasks, like if any request that is received for graphic rendering or database access or media playback. All these activities are handled in native libraries. The things that we are discussing now as an Android architecture is about the internal activities that happen within the Android phone, which will not be seen by the user. So we as a user on the Android devices will be able to see the system apps that is pre-installed or the user installed apps. So when we perform any action in this, we have to, the many internal activities happen. So those things are taken care in this Android layers. So that is what is the point of explanation here. Above it, we have an Android framework. Android framework is a comprehensive set of APIs and tools that are used by developers to build the applications. It includes high-level components for UI rendering, whatever we see on the screen, or any sort of resource management, that is different applications that we are using within our device, and how it is managed when we launch the application, when we close the application, how the memory is managed, how the applications are handled. Those things are taken care in this Android framework. And also the connectivity, location services, multimedia, and many more are taken care as a part of this Android framework. Developers can leverage these APIs to create rich and interactive Android applications. Above that, we have the system applications. That is the one which is visible for the user. System applications are the pre-installed applications like our phone dialer, contacts, calendar, any basic music application, browser, these sort of applications which will already be available when the Android device is open. So that basic applications are handled as a part of system application layer. Next, coming to application layer. In this application layer, it is a user installed applications that are actually developed by developers and are published on the Google Play Store or any sort of applications where the applications can be downloaded. These Android applications are also written using Java, Kotlin, or any other supported languages. Above that, we have an application framework. These application framework are supported for the system applications and the application layer. This application framework provides a rich set of components that which will be like doing services for the other applications. This include activities such as content providers, broadcast services, and these components allow applications to interact with the system, share data, and respond to the system events. With that, we have some of the libraries. These libraries are like backend support, like backward functionalities, such as Android X and some Google Play services for accessing Google APIs and other tasks like networking, image loading, and data persistence. Overall, the Android architecture follows a layer model where the Linux kernel is the core of the architecture, and above that it is followed by hardware abstraction, the runtime services, frameworks, system applications, user applications. These modular design allows for easy customization, portability across the devices, and a variant ecosystem for third-party applications. So once after we understood about this Android architecture, we want to know how to communicate with this Android architecture, or to to explore the uses of it, or to explore the hidden features, how we test it or how we develop it. For all these sort of interactions, we need a communication channel or an interface. That interface is a ADB. ADB is acronym of Android Debug Bridge, which is a bridge communicating between our computer and the Android device. So it comes as a part of ADB, comes as a part of Android software development kit, which enables communication when it is connected with certain source or certain setup. So this ADB, first we will go off with the, just a moment. So this ADB is a command line interface to a computer which only uses just a line of text. It is an easy, understandable English line of text that can access the hidden features in the Android phone. So it has three main parts. That is the device, the client, daemon, and the server. Client is something where we have it, which is our computer. So the device which is sending the commands from, like on the command line, we give the inputs. It is from our computer, that is the client. The daemon is the one which is running on our phone, that is the background services, and which receives the commands from the client. The server is the one which is sitting in the background of our client, that which will help us to establish the connection between these two devices, that is our computer and the Android device. Basically, we are trying to communicate to the Android device using our computer to perform various tasks. So how we'll first look into ADB installation, and then switch back to the how ADB interacts with each and every layer. So ADB installation and setup, we have to download entire software development kit. ADB will just be a part of the entire kit. So we'll get the this download package from developersandroid.com website. So once we are here, we just scroll down to find this download section. Here we can download any sort of package based on our operating system. So once we have downloaded it, the package has to be unzipped. Once it is unzipped, you will find a folder called Platform Tools. Inside the Platform Tools, you will have a package called as ADB. You will have a file called as ADB. So how to install that is, once you are in the Platform Tools folder, just open a command prompt from that location and you have to do the setup here. So just copy this path with the Platform Tools, and in the environment variables, copy paste that link and do the environment variable setup. Also, you can provide, now you have to do the mobile setup. For doing with the mobile setup, you should enable few options, that is called USB debugging, which will be coming under developer options. But this option will not be available in the straightforward way in our mobile devices. First, we have to go for settings in the mobile device and use, after going to settings, you have to go to the about phone. In about phone, we have something called as build number. After tapping build number for 7 times, so if you can see here, I'm in the settings screen, and in the about phone, you'll be able to find the build number within the about phone screen. After tapping build number, you have to get back to the system settings page. Where you will find user developer options. So enable the developer options to find the USB debugging option and enable it. Before this, you have to connect your computer with the Android device with a USB cable. So once you're connected this, you have to do all this setup. While doing this, on your phone in the notification screen, you will be able to find few radio button options like file transfer, image transfer, and just charging your device. With that, we will find USB debugging as well once these options are enabled. So you will get a pop-up on the screen where you have to check this, allow this box. And once you allow the USB debugging, you will be able to find in the notifications that you are connected to your device. So in the same way, we have the device setup that is being done for macOS and Linux also. On the macOS, when you unzip the platform tools folder, you will be able to find the path where you have to open the terminal, and from there you have to enable the options and follow the procedure to install this application. So once you have installed the ADB on your computer, earlier we were in need of device drivers based on the OS version of the phone, like OS version of the Android device. But now by default, we are getting the Android device drivers within the phone itself, within the Android device itself. So there's no external need of installing the device drivers. It's just you have to install the ADB, you have to do the environment variable setup, and you're good to go with the usage of Android device by connecting it with the USB and the computer. So now you know the Android architecture and how you are installing this interface versatile command line tool. Now we will look into how this ADB communicates with the Android device to do any sort of functionalities. And also we have to even know when we send any sort of ADB requests, how it will interact with all these layers in order to process and how it process it and give us the information. So there will be different sort of activities that will be taking place. Allow me a moment. So Android Debug Bridge is a tool that plays a crucial role in interacting with different layers of Android architecture. It provides command line interface, that is, as I said, in the command prompt, you just have to type some instructions in order to make the interaction happen. So we have, as I said earlier, the kernel layer. In order to communicate with the kernel layer, you have to have the connected USB cable with your computer and the device so that any sort of data transfers will happen between these two host machines. And the above layer is hardware abstraction layers. So for any sort of API interactions or the hardware related functionalities, when we provide any sort of commands, it interacts with the HAL, that is hardware abstraction layer, and provides us any hardware related details from this layer. And if we are processing any ADB shell commands, we'll look into these sort of, what are these commands in the next slides. So if there are any ADB shell commands that we provide that will interact with the native layer or the low and execute these low level commands to operate with the file system, any sort of file function like folder and files interactions, any modifications, any push pull activities, those sort of activities are happening in native layer. So coming to application framework layer, in the application framework layer, the interactions that happens are installation, uninstallation of the application, debugging any sort of activities, like if you are encountered with any error, how to handle that. Those things are taken care in the application framework layer, and the profiling of Android applications. In the application layer, it is the one which supports like various commands to interact with the applications of the Android device. For instance, if you are using any ADB to start or stop, to kill any application or to launch any application, or if you have to capture any screenshots or do any sort of screen recording, we can get the responses from application layer. So overall, an ADB acts as a bridge between the host machine and the different layers of Android architecture, allowing the developers, user controllers, or the testers to do various tasks. Any questions? Okay, I'll take it as no.
No, Mala, nothing as of now.
Thank you. So once the connection or once the ADB is set up, what we have to, how we analyze that it is working fine or your ADB is connected to your device, and the functionalities we can communicate and we can get the retrieve, we can retrieve the responses from device is that Once after connection, in the command prompt, you have to give the command called ADB devices. So that will give the information as what all devices are connected to the computer. So if there are some 3 ports and 3 devices you are connected using 3 USB cables, when we provide the command like ADB devices, you will get the 3 serial numbers that are connected. Now that in this, while doing this activity, I had connected with 1 device. So it is giving me the serial number of a single device. So that is how you will get to know which are all the devices are connected to your laptop and which are ready for interaction. And ADB device -S gives the serial number and the further details about the devices connected. So after knowing what about Android architecture, ADB installation, and how this ADB interacts with each layer, we now have to know which are all the commands that are used to interact with the Android device. So the basic command is like ADB devices to know the number of devices or the devices that is connected to the laptop. And second is that you will know to ADB help. ADB help actually lists all sort of ADB commands that are available for user interaction. Next, coming to any sort of if you have to install or uninstall any applications that are given to us in the APK format, that also can be installed. Like the command is simply the ADB install and the path of the APK. The APK can be either saved in the internal storage on the SD card or on our laptop or on our computer. And by providing the command ADB install and the APK name, we can install the application over our Android device. In the same way, if we have to uninstall the application, we cannot use the APK name to uninstall. Instead, we have to use the package name like com.android.application name, something like that. ADB uninstall, the package name we have to give to uninstall the application. And there are some other commands like file transfer commands. File transfer commands are like ADB push, ADB pull. ADB push is something like we have the file in our computer, and that file, if we have to push it over to the computer to our Android device, we can use ADB push. Here is the command, if you can see my screen. Yeah, so ADB push. And if we are whatever file that we have to transfer and to which path in the Android device, that information can be given in the command. And also if we have to pull any pull any file from our Android device, instead of using any sort of manual interaction or doing Bluetooth transfer, we can perform that functionality by using ADB pull command also. So ADB pull, and you have to use the path where that is stored in the Android device. By doing so, you can pull the file from the device. And if, as you can, when you are using any Android applications, generally you will come across some issues like crash or application just closes without any notice, like application not responding, or some of the activities are not performing properly. If we in a camera application, if you're opening any feature and all of a sudden your application gets closed. So these are sort of the issues that become in Android devices, general issues. So how this can be handled is like, you can either do a screen capture, like the screenshot, or we can do a screen recording. And in the background, you can even collect the ADB bug report or the ADB logcat. These ADB logcat and the bug report provides the internal logs, and the screen capture and the screen recording, it actually does the screen record and saves the file in a particular format within our device. If it's a recording, it's a MP4, and if it's a screen capture, it's in a PNG format. So these can be retrieved, and we can identify any sort of issues that happens, and the developer, and these, if we provide these sort of files to them, it will be easy for the developer to know where and what sort of issues are seen, and that can be debugged and resolved. In order, the log files that we get, in that you can search for a keyword like any crash or any error or any failure, at what time it happened, and the logs, all the details will be available in the ADB logcat logs. So those are used to simplify the issues. As I said, ADB shell commands, that which interacts in native layer. These ADB shell has like the other commands other than screen capture or screen record. ADB shell interacts with the file system. So where you can pull out, you can do CD commands, you can go to any particular folder structure, you can modify any files, you can remove, delete, or append any contents. Those sort of activities can be done using ADB shell command. Also, you can use a command like ADB shell get prop. This ADB shell get prop gives the entire detail, like the configuration property file, which gives from the build number, which Wi-Fi is connected, what is the IP address, build model number, Android OS version, all the details you'll be getting it in property file when we use a command like ADB shell get prop. All these are very much useful and very strong, command line to interact with the ADB device and get the hidden informations from the Android device. Not just that, you have various other ADB commands that is very useful in working with the Android device. So now we saw that you are using the Android device by connecting to the computer and to the Android device through USB cable. What suppose if there are multiple devices and a less number of cables, or if you have to interact with your Android device from your computer without using the USB cable. So there is an advanced feature called ADB over Wi-Fi. So how you will interact here is, before starting the communication, first you have to have your computer and your Android device connected under the same Wi-Fi network. And you have to connect your computer and the Android device through cable at the first point. And once after it is connected, on the command prompt, we have to give a command like ADB TCP IP 455. So by giving this, there's a protocol where it establishes the communication between your computer and the Android device. Once this is done, you have to remove your cable and we have to give the command ADB connect the IP address of your Android device :45. By doing this, if there are all the prerequisites done in a right way, then your computer and your Android device will get connected and you will receive a confirmation message saying the connection is established. Over that, you can use any sort of ADB commands that was discussed earlier, like ADB devices install, uninstall, file transfer, or ADB shell, any sort of screen capture, all these commands without using USB cable, just over the Wi-Fi. Once you have come across any sort of system updates, like once your system updates or your application updates, that you will be getting done by from Google Play Store, or if you're receiving any system updates, you will get a notification. You just have to have some sort of like a minimal battery level just to do the system update. All these are user level upgrades. But when we developers or testers, we are testing out any builds, we have to have a flashing methods. So those there are various flashing methods to work with. I'll discuss some of the flashing methods here. That is ADB recovery method, ADB fast boot method, and we have certain tools for commercial devices. Those can be used for flashing the devices. And also there are certain remote access servers like Mobi Control SOTI or AirWatch. These can be used to flash the devices, which are mobile device management tools. So I'll just keep this short for your understanding. So once you are having any device in your hand and you have to flash any new build that are received, if you have a build with a extension of zip file, you can flash the device with ADB reboot recovery methods. If you have any fastboot files, you can go for fastboot method. For that, you have to give a command like ADB reboot recovery to go for exactly this sort of screen. In this screen, you will get various methods to install. To flash the builds. Those builds are either you can update or upgrade to new OS version. And sometimes if there comes an instance that you have to downgrade the version and do any sort of verification, you can even do that. To keep one point in note here, if you are upgrading or updating, the data persistence can be viewable. But if you're downgrading, all the data will be wiped out. So if the downgrade process is happening, you have to back up your data. You have to have certain number, like a certain battery level for doing so. And once you go for ADB reboot recovery method, here you either can flash the device by keeping the build in SD card, or keep the build in your internal storage or in the flash drive, and also on your computer. All these methods can be used for ADB reboot recovery method. Say suppose if the zip file is in my computer, I can use ADB sideload method. That is the command ADB sideload and the zip file. And if you just give the enter, the device gets flashed with a new upgrade version or updated version. The same zip file can be stored in SD card or the internal memory, and we can select that particular option and flash the device. Other than that, when we use any sort of mobile device management tools, you can do it so by uploading the builds to the remote servers. And wherever your device is, you just have to connect the device to the server with a particular serial number. You can form the organizational group and flash all the devices, like how many of our devices together, or flash the individual devices also by following the remote servers methods. I'm good to go. This is all about today's session. Do anyone have any questions related to it?
There are no questions, Mala.
Okay.
If you're done, then we can close.
Sure, David. Thank you for that. Thank you for your
And
time.
thank you, Mala, for taking the time to prepare and present this. And I'm sure we're going to get many more views post your session once the recording is uploaded. Thank you so much for all your effort. It was wonderful and very, very clear, I must say.
Thank you, David.
Thank you for it.
Thanks for joining, Lucina, Vignesh.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.